Greetings to everyone there at the Chinese Culture Center in Berlin. I'm Jingdezhen, Director of Jingdezhen Imperial Keong Institute. Thank you very much for attending this opening ceremony of the pictorial exhibit of the mystery of blue and white. It's my great pleasure to have this presentation exploring a little bit about the story of Jingdezhen porcelain and Europe, and a little bit its enlightenment for today. I have only 30 minutes for this presentation. I have to be very selective and make it brief. But we have Q&A section after this. So let's start with this map, Europe map of the period of Renaissance. That time, the Ottoman Empire was very powerful. It controlled almost the whole eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea. For the western part of the sea is under the control of the city-state powers like Venice, like Genoa. So for the before the end of the 15th century, we see a lot of Italian oil paintings with Chinese porcelains. That time, the Chinese porcelains coming to the Europe had to go through the West Asia or the East areas to enter the Mediterranean, and then the Italian cities took the relay route to ship it to the West Europe. The number of such trade was small. So we see the Jingdezhen porcelains shown on the oil paintings like this. This one, a majority of scholars believe is made in Jingdezhen. It's even from the Royal Porcelain Factory. Some other argue it's some Vietnamese imitation, and maybe pottery imitation from West Asia. But anyway, the shape, the pattern, the design was definitely that of the Imperial Keong factory. That porcelain was made around the beginning of the 15th century. Then after more than a half century ban on the maritime trade, obvious revival of Chinese porcelains to be exported. So this wreck was dated back to the last decade of the 15th century. It's called Lena Show wreck. It has a very huge loading of the blue and white porcelains made in Jingdezhen. And we see some of the products of this shipwreck shown on other oil paintings like this. This is also a famous one right now in Washington at the National Art Gallery. It's painted by the Giovanni and Titian. The Feast of the Gods. We see 3 blue and white Jingdezhen porcelains, and they can find their matches. They are of the civilian Keong quality, but some of them, like this one, they also took after the royal factory design. So that time, the number of the porcelains, as I said, entering the Europe was still small. Things changed when after the Portugal and Spain took the power of the ocean, had their time of maritime hegemony. They even tried to divide up the whole globe into their territory. And they had the 2 transportation routes. One is to go through the South China Sea, then to the Indian Ocean, then get around the Africa to the Atlantic Ocean, and then to Lisbon or Spain. Another route is go from China to Manila in Philippines, and then cross the Pacific Ocean to the North America, then going down to Mexico or to South America, and then from there, the majority part going to the Europe. That brought a large quantity of Chinese porcelains, Jingdezhen porcelains into the Europe. But even though it was treasured a lot, we see this, I believe definitely many of you are familiar, is Charlottenburg Palace, which was very much decorated with Chinese porcelains. people put it either in a beautiful cabinet or had them hang on the wall as kind of a show-off, as kind of a very important decoration. But have the Chinese porcelains decorated onto their ceilings was very unusual. And here it's the exceptional, maybe the only example we can find so far. It's in the Santos Palace in Lisbon, Portugal. Nowadays, it's the French embassy. The Portuguese king, Emmanuel I, once had this place as his palace. He's a man very fond of Chinese porcelains. He even had the Chinese factory made his customized armorial porcelain, so with his name on it. So later on, the Lancaster family took the place for centuries. Their family successively had their collections, in total 272 pieces, to be inlaid onto the ceiling, dated from the end of the 15th century all the way to the early 18th century. But the majority part were from the 16th century and the 17th century. So when you enter this hall, you look up, you see this. It's really magnificent. You see majorly blue and white, some with colored pieces were inlaid onto this pyramid, backed by the gilded wood carvings. There are many flowers, as we may, how we appreciate it. It's arranged like this, usually with a large plate in the center, and then 8 to 10 small dishes around it as petals. The designs, some are pretty classical, like this dragon with wings. It had their imitation from the Royal Porcelain Factory design, and some are really very local, civilian, and some can be Portuguese customized, like this, the so-called crack porcelains. Talking about the crack porcelains, I have some of my personal experience to share. This is back to 6 years ago when I was visiting San Francisco. A very respectable scholar named Edward Porton, who is also an archaeologist, showed me his collections of crack porcelains. He also led me to the Point Reyes. The Point Reyes Museum in San Francisco had collections of many sherds, porcelain sherds, collected from the seashore areas. So it was believed there's some shipwrecks there before. They were also from were made during this age of discovery. So the crack porcelain is like this. It had the many divided cells on the edge of the dish. In the cell is Chinese, but the structure of the arrangement is Portuguese. So it showed a very interesting example how the Chinese porcelain, how the Chinese technique, and also the culture, they had the chemistry with the European custom and tradition. So after some interesting communications with the museum GMAT, because nowadays the Santos Palace is the place of the French embassy. So the museum GMAT had its digitalization. So after interesting communication, they decided to go donate the sealing device, the digital files to us. So we had this donation ceremony and opening ceremony of this virtual device onto the Taoyangli, which is our neighboring area of our museum.
也践行了我们玉窑博物馆的这种无边界博物馆的理念，也有更好的方式、更表达创新的方式去阐释它。
象征了咱们这个中法友谊友好的一个象征，也是一个见证。
This virtual reproduction device was put on the community of the Imperial Keong Park So that's kind of experiment to try to extend our museum exhibit to the neighboring area, not just limited to the indoor space. So based on that, and also inspired from there, we had this special exhibit called Mystery of Blue and White. The exhibit had 3 curatorial concepts. One is the whole space. It's exactly as I just described. The other is transboundary, meaning not just the porcelain pieces excavated from underground, but also all kinds of arts. The third concept is digital symbiosis, and we'll describe that with more pictures later. But before that, let's see another video clip. This video clip was made before the opening of the exhibit. You can see how the curatorial concept was executed. We try to let the people not just see the pieces, but also enter the micro world of those pieces, and also have the artist to freely express their imagination, to blend artistic techniques into the porcelain culture, porcelain elements. And a vision of this exhibit is to make the history enters the present. The map we see here is the Imperial Kiln site. Each yellow line here indicates one time of excavation. And for each excavation, we try to collect the digital information as much as possible, like to scan them and have our the archaeological information to be included, indicating our statistical data and also where those pieces were found. So based on that, it provides a very important database for such exhibit. So from the video clip, we saw some of these pieces. And this is another interesting one. The artist used those aired rubber materials to make this kind of sculpture to express how they were inspired, how they were even shocked when looking into the micro world of those blue and white and with colored decorations porcelain pieces. And this is another one. The artist called this art piece the kiln you can hear. In addition to these porcelain pieces, they made a lot of sound device to be installed on the buildings of ancient kiln house. When you enter it, it detects your arrival. Then the device works to make a lot of real-time songs, imitating the sound during the process of the porcelain production. Another one is temperature measuring coin, but it changes colors. When the temperature goes below 21st degree, it turns into blue. When temperatures get lower, it's bluer. And also winter rains, the color changes as well. And that matches our seasonal characteristic of this city. It's a southern city in China. We have a lot of rains, especially in spring. But beautiful rains, also very friendly to beauties. So the dancing artist also had their inspiration. Somebody can come to the real site and to explore more. For the digital symbiosis I mentioned, we developed a WeChat program. Every Chinese has WeChat. If you have WeChat, you scan this barcode, then you can use it. For this, we try to make it like a game. You can play your role. You can be a merchant. You can be an officer. You can be a worker, a kiln owner or worker. And then you can see our exhibit in the museum. You can see exhibits surrounding the museums. And you can also, you have communications and the co-actions with other audience, and you may even co-create something. All the elements developed are second time processed by artists based on the ceramic patterns. For the recreation, here's an interesting example. You choose a porcelain, then you drag the triangle here, stay on any part of this porcelain, then you get a kaleidoscope picture. The kaleidoscope picture you can develop it from there to a digital collection of your own. And you may even use the pattern, use the picture to have them printed on t-shirt or on a scarf, which has been successfully accomplished already. But this is just a starting point. We hope in the future, maybe near future, many more third-party artists or business can join us, can take the advantage of this to develop more interesting ideas, more interesting programs. And that comes to a very important cornerstone of this. We call it the ancient ceramic gene bank. That's also what we strengthen a lot. Everything has to start from here. Then we tell the story. Then we make the exhibit. Then we develop all kinds of arts or the even the merchandise. All the specimens in this gene bank are from the archaeological work of our past 40 years. But in the future, we will cooperate with people, with museums, with archaeological institute of other places, both domestic and international, to collect more information, to make more specimens. And from the specimens there, we collect informations. Some are scientific, for example, how the body was composed of, how the glaze was like, how the pattern, how the decoration can be more in depth, digitalized and reused. And it's the story behind it. It's cultural, historical, the trading, maybe those like the shipwrecks. There's so many shipwrecks. What happened to them? And so many collections in also European museums. So how they came from, not just Chinese porcelains, but other like from Mason, from Delft, how they came from, how their interactive stories between them and the Jingdezhen porcelains. So another video clip to help me on this. Thank you very much, and my best wishes to the success of this exhibit and also the future collaboration, the future co-telling of our stories. Thank you very much.